Show.
How's it, sticklers? You know, it's the Joystick Show, where your three favorite brothers from Hawaii are back and have gathered to talk story about things we've read, watched, or played. Shakas and mahalos for sticking around. If you fancy what you like, well, then you like it because you haven't even heard it.
Yeah,
I fancy what I like.
You
we're
fancy what you like, don't you?
we're starting off real silly tonight. Yeah. If you know what you like, you know what you like. Welcome to the Joystick Show.
And I'm your co-host Drake. That's Thomas.
What's going on, everybody? Oh man, if Drake's flock of seagulls haircut wasn't enough, here we go.
Man.
We start off that way.
And that's Scott.
How's it?
Wow, what a consistent entry, Scott. I love it. Okay, so aside from all of the fun shenanigans we just had early on in this episode, like right now, we've got tons of other things to talk about and laugh about. We'll be discussing a holiday that's coming up this Thursday. Some of you might call it something, and some of you might call it something else. Some of you might not even know what we're talking about, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
But if you like it, you like it. Back to you.
Also, we got some news about a Nicolas Hoult, and we'll talk a little bit about the extension, or I guess the prequel of the Hunger Games. And I got a chance to finish Blue Eye Samurai, but we are all going to talk about Invincible's episodes 2 and 3. So, if you like it, you like it. Back to you, Tom.
All right, let's do it. God, yeah, if you're not following us on YouTube, check it out because Drake's hair is hilarious. I
It
can't
looks
tell.
real
If
crazy.
yeah, it's like 80s or like My Chemical Romance.
It feels like I've been dipped in a 90s batter and then fried in 80s oil.
That's what it looks like.
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
smells like it too. We got Thanksgiving coming up, and
Oh.
I don't have anything big planned. We're just gonna order a meal from I think Whole Foods because it's just gonna be me and my sister.
Nice.
So real chill. I like that.
Did
What do
see
you
the
guys have planned
sis?
for Thanksgiving?
Wow.
Yeah.
Scott, what are you doing, family stuff?
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm flying out to
To,
California.
wow. Give us the address.
Um,
What flight number?
Flight. You should check it out.
Yep,
Yeah, we're gonna meet up my family. We're gonna do all the theme park stuff. On Thanksgiving, we will be at Disney. Should be
Oh,
pretty
nice.
fun.
Whoa. You're going to get to eat turkeys with the Disney crew.
Yeah. Though it's like as cool as it is to like go on a vacation during your like Thanksgiving time, like part of me still is gonna miss like having all like the traditional Thanksgiving fixins that we do here normally.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
a big foodie and like especially comfort food and like I love leftovers and like
Dude, giant turkey legs.
Yeah.
They have giant turkey
they're
legs
probably gonna
there.
be big ass lines for that, but I might have to get one, Tom. think I'm
Yeah,
gonna have
you
to do
gotta
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, just have a $15 turkey leg. That's the size of a literal GMO farm. Anywho, sir.
Yeah.
Way to make me feel good
Thanksgiving.
about it, Drake. Maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, but you know, it's
Yeah.
it's just
What are you doing, Drake? What are
Yeah.
you doing on your
I'll
thing?
be working on the day before the Thanksgiving, and then after Thanksgiving, I get to work at 6 a.m.
Wait, Friday as well?
Hey.
Yeah.
So you don't work Thanksgiving though, right? Like, does everybody have off at the postal service?
Potentially.
Are you guys starting early then? Your
It depends.
Thanksgiving?
You can volunteer for your holidays. That's why. What's that?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna start early, like cooking early, eating early, and everything, so you can like get to bed a little earlier?
Dude, I have no clue. I didn't do any shopping. I didn't even realize it was this week, to be honest, until we just talked about it. So I'm super
don't blame you,
unprepared in
man.
terms of food.
hey Drake, we're doing our Thanksgiving episode. Oh shit, it's Thanksgiving?
Yeah, holy crap.
Like,
where have I
wow,
been?
okay, that makes sense.
Dude, time is flying, man. It's crazy.
Dude,
It
it's
is.
already
What?
2024, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I can't even believe I'm going like leaving the island tomorrow. Like I was telling Christine, it's like
Me neither.
normally if I'm going on a trip, I'm like, yeah, like I'm looking forward to it. But like because I've been so busy with work and everything, Like it still doesn't feel like I don't know. Still feels like I got work tomorrow or something, you know? Like
Right,
nothing.
right. You're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, what time do I have to get ready by to get to work? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh wait, we just have to get to the airport. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, yeah, that is a weird thing, and it's like vacations during holidays are also kind of a weird thing because your like mindset is normally what you do for the holidays every year, but whenever you take a trip during that time, it kind of throws off your whole mentality. I think around the holiday. So yeah, I mean, Christina's not gonna be here. She's gonna be with her parents up in LA, and
Hmm.
normally I go up there, but Emily's here with her dogs. We got like a full puppy party. I might get them
Oh,
like
that's
a
cool.
Nerf ball and just play tackle football with them in the back or something. Try not to throw out my shoulder, and I don't know, just
Yeah,
hang.
you don't get injured, dude. Just have fun.
Right. That'll fully be like me going from my 30s to like my 50s or 60s. Like I feel like anytime my dad does any type of ball sport now, he gets injured.
Well, he got injured
So
doing pickleballs.
I'm sure. I
Dang.
think he did.
Yeah.
I think he got injured during golf. Not gonna lie. So that's pretty
Whoa.
brutal.
Not a hip movement.
The hips, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Where a
in
lot
the
of people get
hips.
injured.
That's right, and the ankles.
Uh,
So I don't know why I said that. Let's move on.
I was trying to imagine what's
Yeah,
going
you're
on.
like, what does that have to
Potholes,
do
they're
with
not
it?
taking care of the
Yeah,
turf
I,
over
I
there.
don't know. Maybe it's just me hurting my ankle. All right, so yeah, anything else? I guess from like Thanksgiving memories. I mean, I feel like we went in pretty deep in some of our past Thanksgiving episodes
Yeah.
on like our favorite food. Um, yeah, I don't know. Anything you guys hope you get this year? I mean, I guess for you, Scott, it's a turkey leg. But like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Drake, is there anything you
Some form
specifically
of
want?
stuffing, actually. I'm hoping to find that at Disney somewhere.
I
If I
did watch
see
this
you, I can bring
one
that.
TikTok vid where it's like they did the stuffing and then they put it in a waffle maker and then it formed like a stuffing waffle. I was like, whoa,
I saw that.
diabetes, you know?
Yeah, I like how they're waffling everything. So
Yeah, they
good.
waffle everything. I don't know that I'm gonna miss anything per se. I do miss.
You might miss the whole thing.
Yeah, I miss being on the island with everybody and
Gotcha.
being able to like, Thanksgiving hop, right? Get a little bit of different foods because we're all different, so we get different stuff and we get to share different stuff. And
Multicultural.
yeah, it's a
No.
salad melting pot. It's a melting salad pot.
Yes.
Definitely salad in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, salad in a pot. But be grateful. It's nice to like kind of look back and see what we've been able to do and accomplish, and then just getting to share those fun times with you boys. Getting self-acclaimed.
Tears. Yes, definitely. It's been a great year. A lot to be thankful for. We've had amazing shows and movies and games and getting to do the podcast. It's been a time. Let's get into some news though.
Oh, okay.
And
Alright.
the first bit of news is the Hunger Games Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. I think it did somewhere around 44 million domestically at the box office,
Wow.
dethroning Captain Marvel, which had a 74% drop off, the biggest drop off of any superhero movie, I want to say ever, like even worse than The Flash.
Wow.
So, yeah, what do you guys think about the Hunger Games? Are you interested in it? What do you think about the drop off from the Marvels?
I guess I'm interested in the movie just because it is kind of a prequel and it will kind of it's more of a small biography on Snow and how he got the way that he was and kind of the pre Pan Am situation early on when Snow was just a young Nino out there in the world. So
Who's
we've been
Snow?
rewatching. He's the main bad guy in.
Jon
He's the main
Snow.
antagonist. Yeah,
Jon
Jon
Snow's
Snow.
this. Man, that guy won't die.
He won't.
Never.
He's in all the movies.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm kidding, but it's like it's been so long since I've been in
Yeah.
the Hunger Games world. Like I don't remember any of these characters.
If you go back and watch all the Hunger Games like I just recently did, you realize that Jennifer Lawrence in these movies, her face when she cries is just, man, it's real gross. It's real gross.
She's full ugly crier, huh?
Full ugly cry, and I get it, but I don't get it. And then,
Some people are just not pretty when they cry. I
Yeah.
think I'm one of them. Like I've tried to cry cool before, you can't. I mean, not for me. I
Maybe
can't
we
catch
should
crack
yourself
just
crying
film
and you're like,
ourselves
"School
crying.
this up."
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
have like
yeah,
a,
yeah.
You're
like
like,
a
throw
slow
your-
text
Yeah.
scroll
pop the
across the
collar.
screen describing how we feel
I
about
look like a
ourselves.
greaser from
You're
Greece.
like combing your
seriously.
hair.
Like, what's the
Uh.
song? Like, give me more, give me more. I don't know. I've
Tell
tried.
me more.
Tell
Yeah.
me more.
Let's try,
It shows you how much I know about musicals.
Greece,
Yeah.
man.
I don't know why I went Travolta on cool and crying cool, but
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I took you there.
But okay, so listen.
Okay.
In terms of the Marvel
try.
drop off, like, I think that's just like you talked about last time, Scott. It's just kind of like the thing that's happening. It's the ebb and flow of the roller coaster that is, not only Marvel but comic book content in the theater. So
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be kind of the thing until the big movie comes out and everybody's like, oh wow, that's interesting. And it blows everybody right out of the park, and they kind of just ride that wave again. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think
agree
that's
with
what's
that.
happening.
Yeah, I think the new Hunger Games prequel, I think it's still doing well because there was still like a good fan base for it. And everyone seemed to like the first three. So there's no bad taste in anyone's mouth. So when they announce anything related to it, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I'll check it out. Like whatever it is. Um, it does look interesting. I do want to check it out. I didn't even realize it came out, sadly. I've just been working weird shifts. But
Yeah.
I remember watching the trailers and it does look interesting. And I agree with you, Tom. Like I'm watching the trailer when it first came out, I'm watching the trailer. And I'm trying like, wait, who's this guy supposed to be? Like, because you just see younger versions of everyone.
Yeah.
For me
Yeah.
in particular, it would have been nice to be like when they're on screen, just like fade in a picture of who they are older and then fade out, just so I know. But it does look cool. I do want to check it out, but that's probably why it's doing so well. In regards to the Marvels, I think it's like, yeah, what we were saying. We need like a super big Marvel movie right now to bring everyone in. Otherwise, I think we're just going to continue to see numbers like that. The people going are like people like us who are willing to just check out any Marvel film right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm desperate.
I tell you what, like on the Hunger Games side of things, like I just don't flat out care about it at all. Like if it pops up for free on Max or whatever platform, I'll watch it.
Mhm.
But like this wasn't even a movie that I was really interested in seeing. Other than Peter Dinklage and like Viola Davis, like I don't really care about the cast. I never didn't ask for a Hunger Games prequel that didn't involve the genesis of the Hunger Games. Like I want to see how the world collapsed and where they started it. This is like the Hunger Games, but not even at the start. This is the Hunger Games like 10 at Hunger Games 10 or whatever. It's like, why is this significant? Because we get to see
Yeah.
snow come up. Like, okay, I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe just being a hater.
No,
No, I think that's fair.
That's reasonable hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's reasonable hate.
On the Marvel side of things, this movie didn't matter. In terms of like the people in it in real life, it matters to them and all that. But in the grand schemes of the story, the thing that matters the most is the end credit scenes. Like
Yeah.
the one right before the credits roll with Miss Marvel, and then the one that we get after, or like the mid-credit scene where Monica wakes up in X-Men Land. Like those are the only two things that matter in this movie. Like
That's true.
it's-
And they both could have existed without this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, they could have both existed as shorts on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad they
Like,
don't.
the events in this
they deserved
movie
a
didn't directly lead to those things. Like
Yeah,
she
I
could
mean,
have
sort
started
of.
she could have started Young Avengers with something else. Like it didn't necessarily need to be
True.
this adventure. And
Yeah.
then the X-Men thing, it just so happened that we ripped the time. Anyone could have ripped the whole. Doctor Strange could do it next time. Like insert any hero, you know. So
Yeah.
it didn't necessarily need to be this event.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what
I
you're
mean, Marvel does a good job at creating enough content to where you're like probably going to give it a chance, but then putting everything in the end credit or the mid credit scene to be like, oh, guess what we're doing in the background, but just enjoy this really not so great movie for now.
true, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. Again, like I will stand up for it and say it's a pretty decent movie. It's by far not the worst MCU movie. It's not the
Yeah.
worst movie of the year even, but it just doesn't for me. There just doesn't it doesn't matter. And we've
not good
gotten
enough.
the bad stuff that we've gotten lately has now affected some of the good things that we got. Like I think had Secret Invasion been received really, really well, people have been like, "Oh hell yeah, I want to see what Nick Fury does." But then you look at Nick Fury's arc from in Secret Invasion to now, doesn't make any sense, and then it doesn't matter. Everything that he went through in Secret Invasion, it's like, yeah, but none of that shit matters now. He's Fun Fury again. Like we don't even see his wife. Like the big deal was he went up in a spaceship with his wife, and then we don't see him.
That's very
Like
true.
you know, like
Yeah,
what's the point?
yeah. If he had a stronger storyline in this movie, it probably would have been better. People would have went back to watch Secret Invasion. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How did he get here? Nope. Instead, the flirkin that scratched out his eye. Now they're best friends, and he's like cool with everybody getting eaten by him. But all right, that is what it
That's
is.
just yeah, that's what it is. Makes it real good. Well, why don't we move on to something a little bit more positive, like Nicholas Hoult news?
Yeah, this is a good segue. I like this casting, man. So Nicholas Hoult has now been confirmed, I believe. I believe it's confirmed, if not so, a very strong rumor that he's going to be playing Lex Luthor in James Gunn's Superman Legacy film, which is sick. I think I told you guys he was in the process of auditioning to play Superman in this movie. He didn't get that role. It went to David Cornsweet, and now Nicholas Hoult has been told that he's going to be playing Lex Luthor, which I think is phenomenal. Like Scott, you said you saw him in a show where he plays a bad guy, right?
Yeah, he was in this Hulu show.
Like
Let me pull it up.
the
But it's like a
Royals,
Oh,
the
Cheerio sensors.
the Cheerio
Chimney.
Kings,
It's called The Great.
Okay.
the Great.
And
Pretty
it
close.
stars Ella Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. And Nicholas Hoult is like this tyrant of a ruler. It's like a dark comedy. But he plays like a really good bad guy. I caught some episodes here and there. Like Christine really loves this show. So anytime a new season drops, she'll like go through and I'll catch like scenes here and there throughout the season. But he's really great in this show. Because I'm more familiar with him like before this with like Beast, in the new X-Men. So he's totally different person in this. And that just I like to see actors do this sort of thing. It gives you a little glimpse at the range. So I see him like totally nailing this new role he has with James
Chicks.
Gunn for sure.
Yeah, or new roles for James Gunn.
Yeah.
Wow. Nailing it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nailing the
he was
nail
great.
hole.
You know what he did nail? His acting in The Menu. He was so good at that.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. He was
yeah.
awesome with that.
Yeah, like that
Okay.
addicted foodie guy. I think that's great. Yeah, I feel like I've seen him. I don't remember, but I feel like I've seen him with a bald head before. He looks like the type of person that would look good with a bald head. And also, like, he seems like that person. He's already played Beast, which we know is like a smart character. Right? And he's already played that. So I think him being conniving and intelligent and kind of evil, as you said, Scott, I think it's perfect casting. Like, yeah, we were joking, like, I think of the Drake meme where he's like no no no, where it was like Nicholas Hoult as Superman, but then him pointing like yeah as Lex Luthor. So I'm on board with it, man. I think he's gonna crush it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm open to the casting. I think Nicholas Holt's a great actor. I think he can kind of morph himself into
No, he played Beast, not Morph.
Oh, sorry. Into the Nightcrawler he's meant to be. But if there's any Jubilee, I'm pretty sure he can play the Gambit. He's such a colossus of an actor.
Oh hell yeah!
He could be a Sentinel, but in the end, I think he's just a nice man. So
Yeah,
That was
there you
good.
go. Stuck the landing.
Here you
You're
go.
dropping bars right there. That's good. Little X-Men humor for everybody out there. Well done, man. Well done. Yeah. Nicholas Hoult. Exciting. The whole cast is rounding out really, really nice with Rachel Brosnahan from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. David Cornsweet looks like he's getting jacked too. He sent a picture, or he took a picture of him in the gym, and he's looking like Henry Cavill big. So it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see what they do with this movie. All right, let's get into reviews because Drake, you got to watch something that me and Scott hyped up last week, and
Yeah.
now I feel like we can dive into it even deeper.
Yeah.
Incredible anime slash, I guess it's kind of an anime. Would you describe it? Would you guys describe it as anime, or more just American animation?
It's kind of like it's got like a Jack Black meets Avatar vibe. You know what I mean? Like American animation with like Asian hints, a fusion, if you would.
Okay, I don't see
Yeah.
how those things relate, but I
Okay.
do hear what you're saying. It is
But
a
let's roll
fusion.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
but let's say that's what it
Things of
is.
stuff. Yeah, let's just make pretend.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Blue Eye Samurai, fantastic show. Do not sleep on this one. Drake, what do you think about it?
So, you guys are always right whenever you say you should watch it. You'll probably like it. Yeah, I definitely liked it. So, you guys know me.
believe
That's
us,
Saying we're
nice.
right.
You
Oh
never
my
believe us.
god. There was boobs, like you said. There was boobs. There was cool fight scenes, like you said. There was cool fight scenes. The dialogue's really great. The story's really great. The voice cast and the characters, I think, really carried the movie. I think had they maybe done smaller actors or just an all Asian cast with less names than they have in there now in terms of like box office names, I don't know that it would have done as well. I think they did a really great job bringing like characters to the forefront and giving us familiarness in this like samurai array of blood, sweat, and vengeance. So, favorite scenes for me? Wow, that's a great question. I
Yeah.
think just
Would you ask yourself?
yeah,
You like
I was
ask yourself the question.
uh,
You're like, "Ooh, that's a good one, Drake. I don't know what I'm gonna say here."
yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna say here.
Yeah.
You caught me off guard.
You caught me way off guard. I was like, ooh, fucking.
Next question, please.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I
Yeah,
do
come
like
back
all
to
the
me, come
fight
back to me.
scenes, but I think I'd have to pass. I'll send it on to you guys.
Yeah, what's some of my favorite scenes? There was one in the last episode where it was her, or no, what was it? It's like it's not Kabuki, but they were doing the play with the puppets, and I
yes,
think
yes,
this was in
yes.
episode
You
5.
could see the hands moving them. That was great. I
That was
Yeah, that
great,
was a
but
solid
also
episode.
like how that story was being told, and then it would cut to what was happening in her life at the time. I was like, that's so fucking well done. Like it just looked
yeah.
so cool, and it's so translated like this proverb, this Japanese proverb that people would probably learn, and this in a form of entertainment, but also had a lesson. But then it still relates to her in that moment in this episode in that story. God, I thought it was just beautiful. It was really well done, and her training with her husband at that time, and how it was like he loved her. We thought for who she was, but then when she really showed him who she was, like it all fell apart. Just I think that visual was beautiful. They do this really thing with like I felt like they were playing with reds a lot, like this red tone. So there's a part where they all end up on the beach, right? She's like fighting the what are they like? The something four, like the fearsome four
Oh, the
or something.
fangs.
Oh, right.
The
four
fangs. The four fangs. That's what it was, right? So she's fighting them all the way down the mountain, and they land up on the beach, and it kind of does this wide shot with the backdrop of the sun, which you couldn't really do that shot. I think in live action, it'd be really hard, right? Because if you had the sun, like you'd have to CGI it because you don't have the sun like directly pointed down the barrel of the camera, but it's something you could do in an animation. And just the way it was like highlighting them where they're dark silhouettes but that light behind them, and then they're about to like stand off in that battle, that part was fucking cool. Like just, and I realized why now, but I'll let you jump in there, Scott.
Yeah, I mean those are both really great
Don't
scenes.
steal
I
mine,
do want to
bro.
piggyback
Don't-
that.
don't steal mine.
I'm gonna piggyback both actually, and
No,
you don't want to do it.
Yeah, actually that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, actually, I wrote this down earlier, guys, at home, and I sent Thomas a copy, and I was like, "Could you reread this? Like, make sure it's all good." He's like, "Yeah, for sure." And then he just did it. So that's what happened right
Oh
now.
my god.
Wow.
Yeah,
How could
welcome
you
to my
not?
life. Welcome to my life,
Anyways,
Scott.
let me. You forgot some stuff. So I really like.
You bastard.
No, but I do really like that episode of flashbacks. A lot of shows do that nowadays where they're like do a flashback, but this was done, I felt like, in the tightest, most purposeful way. Like it gave you all the scenes you needed to feel for the characters. And it was very unique in the sense like hold on a sec.
Wow.
We're all having
My
like
throat is, like,
medical
going wrong.
emergencies. Welcome
know.
to
Yeah, I
winter.
died and I came back to life, guys. Kind of like when you watch
Clear.
yeah, sheesh. Remember like Harry Potter where they explain the Sleepy Hollow, the Deathly Hollows, and
Hmm.
they like change the art for a second. Like it
Yeah.
was, I like when they do that in flashbacks versus just like
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know, maybe Arrow set us up for like a very specific type of flashback for like years, but
Yeah.
this did a good job of like telling you like we're telling a story through puppetry. We're also showing you her actual history, how she got to where she is now, and then now when you see her like going through it, you're like, oh my gosh, like I feel for you even more. And in that same episode, she levels up. We could just go spoiler now. She like takes off pieces, like she basically walks around with weights like Goku, takes them
Yeah.
off, and then attaches them to her
I
sword and
love
makes like a
it.
spear thing. And in that same episode, she explains why she can fight with that spear thing and how it's good when you're fighting more people. And then she
Yep.
does it, so you're not just like, what? Where did this ability come out of?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
the whole
And
thing
we
was
also
told really
see
well.
why she doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
you know, we learned that about her. We learn like, she did open up to somebody before. We see like how her mom treated her after she came back from all the training. It was like,
yeah.
God, you learn so much. It was, again, I'll say this, I think I said it last episode 2. It was like, as a self-contained episode, it was one of the best I've ever seen. Like, well, I don't know. What do you think about that, Drake?
No, I the amount of layered storytelling like you both are describing is just kind of ultra genius. I don't know that I've deliberately noticed it previously, but it can give you so much of the story via like the context of what you're learning in the culture of through the puppets or what you're seeing in the flashbacks, kind of giving a lot more context, and then what's happening in the now. You're kind of being able to kind of feel what she feels. It was a great way to become empathetic and sympathetic towards a lot of the things that are happening that you wouldn't normally be able to have a sense for without experiencing it, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
but in terms of like episode 2, man, I thought it was very, very interesting. Something I want to say before we can get into the episode 2 portion is I really enjoyed Brenda Song's character, Princess Akemi,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that she was interacting with her dad. There's a point in time where she's asking him to, like, she wants to go off with Taigen, right? And he wants to
Yeah.
marry her off.
And she
So
has to do
there's,
like the nice voice, like the
yeah,
right.
so tons of layers in terms of like Asian culture and like old marital culture where the female was being used as property or a means to bring peace between families and wealth and prosperity and blah 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 blah. And that's understood there. But then also other tones of like a father and a daughter, even though their positions is he's a very powerful person and she is still just a woman, right? At the same point in time, as she's doing that voice, the dad is almost, from what I saw, is almost accepting it for what it is, and knowing that she's trying her best to get what she wants in the quote unquote honorable way that she's supposed to as a person in this time period. And so he's kind of letting her do that because ultimately he has the final say, right? So it's almost like they're playing like a negotiation game, and that was super interesting to see in that way.
It
And then
was. Yeah, again, I want to just expand on it. Like that side of Japanese culture is, it's kind of understood. We know the politeness and everything, but we never really get to see it done in that way, I
Yeah.
think, in terms of like American shows. And then when you see that, you're like, oh my God, like this isn't just it's just not like politeness. There's also like a tact to it. There's like a strategy behind this.
Yeah.
And I was like, really, I appreciate you bringing up that point and highlighting it because, yeah, that really stood out to me too.
Well, more on that is I think that to me that's a wonderful way to be able to say like to kind of like preach those like the political polarity that we have right now is like feminism, girl power, women can do anything, etc., right? Which is the case, but in this case, you get to see that in this time period where they did not have quote unquote rights to a degree, they were still able to control power in their own way by playing the game, right?
Right.
And women had a lot of power. You saw how much power that the prostitutes had. You saw how much power money wise that a good woman was, right?
Yeah.
So you got to see all those things, even though it was in a negative connotation, as in
Yeah, like the
prostitute,
way
whatever.
the way they were able to get that power and
Yeah.
like use it was like, now we would be like, that's barbaric, they shouldn't be like having to prostitute themselves or like use sex as a weapon or whatever you would say, right? But at the same time, that's how this caste system worked at that time. That's how the hierarchy worked, and women had to use what they could use in order to gain control, to gain power. I mean, I think it's the perfect counter to it is Mizu in this show, right? She pretends she's a man so that she can have more rights, she can have more options, she can be that wandering samurai and kind of take more control of her life, right? It's like when she kind of sheds her womanhood or the woman side of her, now she's able to kind of control things in her life. And yeah, again, I'm not saying it's right, but that's just kind of how the system was at this time. And I think that this show does a really good job of really demonstrating that, where it's like, you might be able to read that in a book, but you wouldn't understand it. And for at least for me seeing it, I'm like, oh shit, like, man, yeah, who was the main headmistress of like the brothel? She was like really well done too. I kept thinking it was Ming-Na Wen, but I'm not sure.
Madame Kaji. Oh no, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
Madame Kaji.
That is Ming-Na Wen. Yeah.
It was it? Yeah. I was like, man, Ming-Na Wen, just a powerhouse, and you can hear like she even has that strong voice too, but just really interesting and really well done. And actually, one of the directors, the director who is Japanese, was talking about how power and all that worked in this time period, and they went back to history books and historians, and she realized like this is how women had to behave, this is what women needed to do, and really tried to make that a focal point of the story with Akemi and her father, or with Mizu and the world at large. So yeah, man, I think they crushed it on that.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like the history, like I do like the fact that they tie like historical events to the show too, like the Great Fire in the end, like it's as if like this event created that fire, like it's kind of like a what if scenario sort of thing. But
Didn't
it's
know that
cool
was a real
they-
thing.
huh?
I did not know that was a real thing.
Oh yeah, there was a big fire in 1657, and it said that approximately 60% of the city was burned down. An
Wow.
estimated death toll was like 30,000 to 100,000.
Holy shit. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I did not know that was like a historical thing. I was like, wow, that'd be crazy if, there was a giant fire in Tokyo. That's wild. But
Yeah.
turns out, okay. Or was it
Did all of
Kyoto?
you like Randall Park's bad guy? I thought
That-
his it was genius.
It was genius. But his was the only voice where every time I heard him, I was like, Randall Park. Randall Park, Randall Park, Randall Park, Randall Park.
Fresh
Like,
off the
I just kept
boat.
seeing his face every time I heard that voice. He was the
Yeah.
only one.
He was so good. That scene where they were kind of going back and forth as merchant v merchant in the business dealings. I was like, oh, that was so interesting. It was just
Because back in that time, right, being a merchant handling money for the samurai culture, that was seen as kind of lesser in terms of dealings, but he held all the power, right? So, kind of showing a different views of what it would be like on different sides of like the honor/dishonor spectrum in Japanese culture.
Oh,
It was
interesting.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just seemed like he was one of the first early like businessmen, like real businessmen in Japan, where he was like, oh, okay, if I want to get things done, like if I really want a lot of power, I'm gonna do it through business, and that was cool. It also makes me want to see Randall Park as a bad guy because he plays such a lovable dude. And like seeing him kind of be a little, I mean, it wasn't him, but just what he could do through his voice, being kind of schemy and like a little like skeezy, a little snaky. I was like, ooh, like Randall Park is a bad guy. Like I want to
Yeah.
see that. That'd be
Speaking,
awesome.
I really like that scene where he meets them out for tea, and then he's like they're doing this whole thing like he's bluffing. No, he's not bluffing. Like if I drop the scarf, are there really archers? Like that whole thing was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
great.
was. Yeah. Man, the animation from there was incredible too.
Yeah.
With Taigen and Mizu holding the shield and like timing it and everything. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
man, it was good. It was a great
So
show.
good.
It's like I compare it to like Samurai Jack, where you're just like you want to watch it every week, you know.
But
Yeah, I know. I instantly when I was done, I was like, God, I wish there was a season 2. The only thing I could say about it is like I'm not like super pumped on the ending because we see that she takes the British guy. I don't know what his name is.
Fowler.
I don't think it's his dad. Do you or her dad?
No.
Do you guys?
'Cause
Right?
No.
Like-
There's two more aside from that one, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So-
right. And his eyes look different to me, so I was like, I don't think that's her dad. But I also don't like if we see season 2, which I hope we get, it looks like they're going to be going to London, and it's like that's cool, but I'd rather them stay in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
actually, that's a good point. I was thinking that too. I'm like, are they gonna be able to? Like, she had a lot of strengths in Japan, like because she grew up there and stuff. So like, is she gonna have the same strength? She's gonna be like a totally different world.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it in London. That's gonna be weird. Like everyone's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
sword
better
in
at
London.
fighting there than It's
Well,
more
I mean, she's
diplomatic.
gonna
They
be
got
the-
guns.
Yeah.
Like,
It's going to be a lot of like her dealing with people with guns, and like I don't know how that
Assassin's
works.
Creed over here.
yeah.
Maybe, which could be tight. But it's
That
like
could be
I
tight.
liked seeing her have actual opponents, and I liked the Taigen of it all too, where it was like enemies that become frenemies, become like partial lovers. But he thinks, I think up until the end, he still thinks she's a guy, right? Like he
Yeah.
never finds out that Mizu's a
He doesn't
girl,
see
right?
gender, so he's.
Yeah, he got excited.
I think
for
he was
those
getting
guys.
confused. He was like, #traps, what's up? And then,
Yeah.
which way
Yeah.
am I going to go with this?
They must be
Yeah.
thinking about my girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I must think of Akemi.
Brenda Song.
Mizu.
Yeah.
So,
But,
yeah.
yeah,
such
I
a good
definitely hope
show.
there's a season 2. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. So
Yeah.
good.
Last thing I'll say is, there's an awesome thread of videos on YouTube, the behind the scenes of it. So you can type in like Blue Eye Samurai behind the scenes, and they show how they did it and everything. They were like, we basically storyboarded and like wrote the script and like shot it as if it was a live action movie, and then we would go to the animators and be like, this is what we're trying to do, and then they
That's
would
amazing.
yeah, so all the fight choreography and all that was like actually planned out and like practice and stuff. So really badass. And Japanese director and then half Japanese showrunner. So like the whole idea of being like half multicultural, like half Japanese. I don't know, that part kind of got me. I'm like, that's me. Like I'm like that. So I don't know. I feel like that spoke to me a little bit.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah. So all right, let's get into the next thing, which is
The Invincible.
Invincible, or do you want to go Scott Pilgrim first?
Oh,
I
yeah,
can-
Scott Pilgrim. Scott
Yeah,
Pilgrim,
let's
Scott.
have-
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Scott Pilgrim. I don't know how much we were all able to check it out. It just came out. I know we were busy. I was kind of able to check out like a bit of the first episode. I was hoping to check out more, and I'm definitely going to. I think I'm going to download it for the plane ride. Actually, maybe check it out there. They seem like they're like 30-minute episodes, maybe 8 to 10 episodes. The art very much like the comic. And I was reading up on it, and it seems like the direction they take in this one is a little different than the comic and a little different from the movie too, which was interesting.
Yes.
The writer and like the artist or whatever worked with them to like create a kind of a new story to keep it fresh, I guess. So I'm all about that.
Okay, I'm glad you told me that, because that has been one of the things that I have not liked about it. And I was
okay.
like, what is this? Like, why are we going here? Why are we going? And you'll see, it goes into like some weird places for me. I'm like, this is really weird. Why are they doing this? But hearing you say that actually makes me want to go back and like give it another shot. And
Yeah,
'cause I'm
at
like,
least
oh,
now you
they
know
planned it
you're
this
like,
way.
yeah, you know the original creators are on board. As long as they're on board, like I'm on board because you hope
Right.
at least it's gonna be a good story.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's cool and it keeps it fresh. You get a whole nother take on it. So hopefully it's good. I've yet to watch it all, but
Yeah, it's funny because like the first episode is very close to the movie, and I was like, oh, this is almost like a side by side recreation of it, or like a shot for shot recreation. But I was like, I don't know, it's just not. I felt after watching the first one, I was like, man, I was so excited about this. I was so like, I love Scott Pilgrim, and it was like one of those movies that came out and was like, what is this? I'm like, man, they got to do more comic book movies because this is incredible.
yeah.
And then I'm watching this over the weekend, like episode 1, and I'm like, it's just not hitting the same for me. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm older now. Maybe it's just, I'm not in that place. because I think I felt like that kid sometimes, like Scott in that world. And then the Ramona Flowers, like the super cool girl who's like way out of his league, but like mysterious.
Yeah.
And then, just by being his awkward self, wow, this is really telling about who I am. But like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, but it wasn't, I guess I could say that the animation wasn't hitting me exactly the same way the movie had hit me in the past. And like, for me, that felt like a little bit of a letdown. It's like, oh,
Well,
man.
so I think because I read the comics before watching the live action movie. A friend of ours, Jose, got me into it. He's like, "You gotta read, it's good." The movie did a really good job of adapting the comic. Probably like still one of the best jobs of like making something that probably shouldn't work in live action, like work with
Right.
like the whole pop up stuff and like video game sounds and all this kind of stuff. It is cool to see it in this cartoon version because it is like watching it come off the page, and we played the video game and it feels very much like that.
Yeah.
But it does kind of
does.
feel like a backstep from a live action. You think the live action is end game sort of feel, and they did such a good
Right.
job. It's hard to compete with that. So I totally see where you're coming from as well. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Because like live action is always where you want to see everything happen, right? Like that's the pinnacle.
yeah,
You know,
like,
like
could they break the code and do it? Like,
Right. It's like comics and then maybe video games, but then it's like if you do it live action and you do it well, it's like, oh my God, and they did it so well. It was nice to get these characters back and get more of them for sure. It was really interesting though, like some of their voice, like Michael Cera's voice doesn't sound like Michael
it
Cera.
doesn't sound like the Michael Cera from the movie though. Yeah, it's like a whole nother.
Yeah.
He's less Michael Cera.
He
It
is
feels
way
like.
less. Yeah, and he sounds older. It's like deeper, but he doesn't sound like. Yeah, Michael. I don't know why they didn't like pitch it up, or I don't know. It felt. It was weird. I think that was another thing that kind of threw me off about this show.
Yeah, yeah, he sounds like a more laid back. Like in the movie, he sounds more like he's nervous. Like, oh, I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then this, it just
Yeah.
it feels more like it could. I only know it's Michael Cera because I was told it was Michael Cera.
Right.
Like Michael
right.
Cera normally has a voice that's very like standoutish, and
Yeah,
in
exactly.
this it's
Like
not really.
we're gonna be talking about Invincible and like Alan the Alien. It's like, oh, the second he opens his mouth, they're like, okay, Seth Rogen's here.
Exactly.
You know,
That's
and
a good
I
example.
kind of expect it out of Michael Cera, and then I don't get it. Like Michael Cera sounded like Michael Cera and Barbie as Alan,
Yeah.
also as Alan. It's weird, but you know, it's just why. So that was the only part that kind of threw me off, also. And I like watched it all the way through again. Like maybe it gets a ton better. I'm only on episode 2, but it seems like it deviates a lot from the movie, and that threw me off. But I want to hear Michael Cera when I see Scott Pilgrim. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One
'Cause-
big deviation I read was like I didn't get that far, but apparently like I think he loses the first fight and he dies or something. Where in the
Yes.
movie he doesn't. So I think that was like
Yes.
I'm kind of glad I read it. I was like, okay, I kind of want to know because I'm probably not going to be able to watch the whole series before we talk about it. So I kind of want to know about it. And I was reading, I'm like,
I wish I knew
whoa,
that.
that's crazy. What, they're gonna kill him? Like,
Yeah, I wish I knew that because I was like, wait, what?
this doesn't happen.
Yeah, and then they go to his funeral, and I'm like, wait, what? I was like, this is so different than the movie. I was so thrown off by it. Maybe that's another reason too. It like left me with a bad taste in my mouth a little bit because I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell? Like Scott doesn't lose, you know, and he fully loses and then dies. And then we see a lot more of the main bad guy, like at the end of the movie, you know, like the ultimate evil boyfriend. And we go into his backstory and how he like tries to wrangle up all the exes.
Yeah.
And it almost like felt like to me like I don't need to know this much about him. Like I want
Right.
to know he's just evil and bad, but you're getting more what's his name? Schwartzman?
Yeah. What does he play? He plays like Gideon or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
Gideon.
yeah.
Exactly. He was
Oh,
in
so you know,
like,
it's like now they're diving into his backstory.
yeah, and you get some
Oh,
of that too. You can see a
Okay.
lot more of Ramona, which I like. I like Ramona's character, and
Mm-hmm.
but it is cool hearing like Aubrey Plaza pop up. I'm like, she signed up for this anime or like cartoon. Brie Larson also doesn't sound like Brie Larson, but Kieran Culkin always sounds like Kieran Culkin, and it's great to
Yeah.
have him back.
That's
It's like
awesome.
the like
The
what is it?
roommate
Like,
or whatever.
yeah, like the roommate that, you know, the gay roommate who's like deserves more, you know, who's getting nothing from his friend. He's like the friend who's forced to be a friend,
Yeah, he's such
but
a good
doesn't want to
friend
be
to
a
him.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's one of the best parts, but Yeah, I don't know. I want to see where it goes. It is just it has some things that were throwing me off, and I wish I had that spoiler going into it. Like he dies after the first episode, because that
That's
threw me
true.
off.
Usually I try to avoid spoilers, but that was like the one I'm happy I read first. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can approach this differently. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Yeah, spoiler alert, but also like it's probably gonna help you if you've been a fan of the movie in the past. So
Yeah.
expect Michael Cera not to sound like Michael Cera, and expect him Scott to die in the first episode, because
Yeah.
that happens. All right. Yeah. I know, Drake. What about you? Are you thinking about starting it, or like where does this rank for you in like terms of things you want to watch? Are you like, yeah, let's get to it, or like
I
100%?
think it's a get to it for me. Like if I have some time and like I've exhausted all my other options, and then hearing how you guys have spoken about it, obviously there's a mild interest, but I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to see it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Man. All right. Another
fair.
thing that I'm just going to sound like a hater on. We got Monarch, the new Godzilla movie. Um,
Or series, right? On Apple.
sorry, series.
Series,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Drake, come on. Jump in with the series, man.
Sorry, I love it. I love series. I did get to
but-
watch the pilot.
I got to watch the pilot. And so I haven't gotten too far into it. But right now, it is more of a mystery of the company of Monarch, more so than it is about the monsters. But this is expanding upon the MonsterVerse. The Godzilla and Kong takes place, and actually, I think we start the show in on Kong Island. Blah, blah, I don't know why I said that so weird, but we started on Kong Island.
Garland.
That's tough. You got a stocky in my throat, but it's cool. It has John Goodman is at the start of it from
Nice.
Kong Island. So it starts there, and then you kind of get into this like really deep backstory of all these characters and like what they're trying to figure out and stuff. And yeah, for me, I don't need it. Like I just want to see monsters like destroying shit and killing people, and it has so much story and all these things going on. I'm sure it'll get there, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying like I'm completely out on it, but I ended up the new metric for me, if a show is good or not, is if I pick up my phone when I'm watching it, and pretty much throughout
You
the
did it.
whole episode, like
Kept picking
I ended
it
up
up.
playing the game more than I ever watched the show. I don't know. There was so much story going on and all these character things, and like everybody's acting well, but I don't know. It just
And I mean, to be fair, like having story is not always a bad thing, right? So the story must
Right.
not even be that interesting. It sounds like it's decent, but because Last of Us is all story, and that
True.
shit was good, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And it makes you feel like that world, you're like, oh shit. You kind of do get a little bit of it. There's like glimpses of how crazy this world would be if Godzilla was like destroying San Francisco. Like there's a point where there's a siren that goes off in Japan because one of the characters finds out her dad is like cheating with like on her family, and so she goes to Japan
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and she sees the other family. Sorry, spoiler alert, but I guess you can kind of see it in the trailer.
fine.
And there's like an alarm that goes off, and like everybody has to go underground because it's like warning Godzilla attacks. But it like that's kind of it, and then it kind of goes away, and you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad, you know? Like I want to feel like, oh shit, this is terrifying. There's only one moment of that I felt like, and it's a flashback of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and you see Godzilla break through it, which I think is from another movie. Like I think it's from like a previous movie that they did like a flashback of this character like living in that moment. So I think that's cool, but that was the only part in it where I was like, oh, this is badass. But after
That's
that,
great.
it was like, eh.
This is like a little small tangent, maybe hypothetical. If Godzilla did exist in this world right now, like, you think that would change where you want to live right now? Like, would you live elsewhere? Like, I don't know if I'd keep living in Japan, or like I'd try and be figuring out a way to leave, or like, anywhere near major bridges, like,
Yeah,
like I don't know how often Godzilla would visit Hawaii, but like, it wouldn't take long for him to wreck the whole damn
Only
island.
for
if he found
vacation.
it.
Yeah.
yeah, seriously. I mean, that would just be like a king size bed for him.
Yeah,
You
it's
just,
like,
like,
let's hope he
roll up
never
there.
finds us.
Well,
Yeah.
we know that they're looking for nuclear waste slash energy slash radiation. So
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure there's nukes everywhere.
Yeah.
So it'll just depend.
Godzilla in Afghanistan or
Oh,
Dubai.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Godzilla
Or
in
not.
parts
Russia.
of Russia. Apparently, I
Yep.
think Germany has a shit ton of nuclear plants.
I'm sure. Yeah. They were like, give us those BMWs and Mercedes, and you guys can have nukes.
Boom.
Well, so apparently, in certain areas where there's less risk of like earthquakes because they're not on faults or things like that, like it's a lot more manageable to have nuclear power plants. But obviously, getting rid of the waste is the biggest portion. But
Okay, another hypothetical. Godzilla exists. Does the world unite to take down Godzilla? Or are we all like still like do we still have our regular defense budget and then we have like Godzilla defense budget or
I
what's
mean,
the
Is
that's
it
deal?
like
only
that's like
Godzilla?
putting into the XL horde. That's I mean, you got to, right? You gotta just in case.
Oh man, what a callback.
It's crazy because like in these movies, it seems like it starts with like we gotta get rid of Godzilla, and then a bigger monster comes and Godzilla fights them. They're like, so we can keep Godzilla around, and like
Yeah, we're gonna keep that motherfucker around.
because he
Let
fights
him-
the other monsters.
Yeah, we're gonna let him do his thing. Like, there's no way you just let him go back in the ocean, right? Like, they
Nah, I
figure
mean,
out
yeah.
some way to like contain him or something. Yeah, right. That's the only thing I feel like with these Godzilla, the Kong universe, where they go down on the inside, and inside the Earth is like a whole nother prehistoric Earth with like some kind of like magic under Earth sun. Like I'm like, God, it's so hard for me to turn my brain off for these movies. But I did like Godzilla and Kong. That was actually the action was cool in that.
Yeah, I mean the action is cool, and then also
Yeah.
like who's signing up for these jobs to be like, we're gonna need you on the ground for Godzilla. Like,
No, yeah,
fuck
I'm not
that,
doing
dude.
that.
What are you talking about?
My salary better start at $1 million a year.
Yeah, let's get the drones going. What does that look like?
I know,
Oh,
definitely,
shit, that's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. Don't pay me. Send drones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all right. I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. I'll see. No, maybe tune back in if I got a little bit more time.
Okay.
All right, let's get into Invincible. We had episode 2 and 3 that we weren't able to discuss. Again, I'm just gonna keep the haterade train going.
Haterade.
Yeah.
Good.
Quench that thirst.
Oh man, yeah. Mine's a mixture of lime and fruit punch.
Hot.
So, man, I wasn't super high on episode 1. I liked episode 2 even less, and episode 3 is the episode I would say I like the most.
Cool. Yeah.
And-
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll just kind of leave it at that because, yeah, I don't know. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on episode 2 and episode 3, and if you want to break down those episodes really quickly.
I'll say just in general, episode 2 was just more woe is me. A lot of dad trauma and like trying to figure it out. And 3 was kind of like that, but then like cut to another character you know's backstory, which I think they're doing really. They're 2 for 2 right now in backstories that are pretty awesome. And I guess that's the main positive to take from it, just because we get to see a lot more of the Alan alien, and then obviously Adam Eve was fantastic in that opening episode of season 2. We get a little bit more on the Viltrumites, and we can kind of see a little bit more cracks in the armor per se from episodes, mostly from episode 3, but. I don't know, Scott. What more specifically could you point to that would make what I'm saying not incorrect?
No, I think you're correct. So episode 2, I did like, but not for the reasons you should. Maybe like I feel like in a show like this, also I didn't read this far into the comic, so it could be exactly like how it happened in the comic. So to be fair, it could be accurate, but. If the episode 2 kind of felt like Superman visiting Atlantis in like Justice League cartoon, like you're getting 26
Right.
episodes, they're kind of one-off adventures. I'm always down to see Atlantis in any variation or whatever. Like it seemed like more cool, like cool world building kind of thing. But not super necessary.
Yeah,
You see
okay.
him like
I just want to ask you one thing on that. Like,
yeah, go for it.
I guess in this world, like, okay, we know we all these characters have like their own different story. Like, is there like a genesis point? You know, like in the boys, we find out like how all these heroes get their powers. Like the X-Men, you know, it starts at puberty. Like, it just feels like a world where just like heroes exist, and there hasn't been like a point of like, oh, you know, there was no heroes, and then this day happened, and then there was heroes. You know, like
I mean,
MCU
yeah,
was, like, starts with
that's
Iron
true.
Man.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they do get to that. I'm not sure. I didn't read that far into the comics, but maybe that is
Yeah.
something that comes up later. Because I mean, even like what, like Static Shock, there was that the gas that gave her like,
Hmm.
every hero you get to see their origin, right? And then you only get to see him. He's a Viltrumite, but everyone else, for whatever reason, they're there. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and,
So
and
that
it's
is a good
confusing,
question.
like to me, in this world of like, okay, so heroes are just cool. How many heroes are there? Like the government has their own team, but like not that many. I don't know. It just like, you know, and all of a sudden we like the humans know about Atlantis, and Atlantis has its own kingdom. Like, is there always been this underwater people
Yeah, it
here?
feels
And
like
like
a real mess, right? Especially because the
a
Justice
little
League now
bit,
is like a bunch of teens and like one
yeah,
immortal man who's sleeping
Yeah.
with one of the teens. And you're like, is this teen like old
Yeah.
enough? Like it gets really weird. That's where it starts dipping into like that the boys feel where it's like this superhero thing, if it was real, would definitely be a lot messier than you think. Like they're not all holier than
Yeah.
thou. They're not like
right.
they're for sure just like everyone else, and they're doing shady shit on the side. No matter the job. But so that one just kind of felt cool. He fights a monster, and they're like, "Leave them." He's like, "I can't leave them behind. I gotta help them." And he goes back, helps them, and then defeats the monster, and then he's better for it. Cool. He's not his dad, or is he his dad? Because his dad wouldn't listen to, you know,
Yes.
in the right
Cecil.
moment, the dad might do that, right? And
Hmm.
then in the third episode, he's doing a little more of that. Um, but they jumped to Alan, which was really cool. I did like that backstory. I did like, and I knew that. Then they're like, "We have a mole." I'm like, "It's you, motherfucker!" Like I knew it. Like, it's the very guy asking him to seek out who the mole is. That's the mole, the old guy.
Hmm.
But it was still really cool. I like seeing the backstory in Alan and like how he was created, and he's, you know, all that. It's really cool. And then
Yeah.
the very end ties back to like, okay, this is what I'm trying to get to. Like, you know, he goes to that planet and his dad's there. And I'm like, yes, we're back on track. Like, let's go. Like, two kind
Yes.
of felt like a filler. Like, I'm like, can we keep all the episodes like
Hmm.
episode 3? Like, you know, everything is purpose. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like kind of unfair to say because it's like some filler is good in animes, like that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it felt kind of pointless. I feel like at episode 2, but at episode 3, the other thing that you brought up, and I will say this about this show and probably Robert Kirkman, nobody does origin stories like this guy. He kills it. Whether it's Alan, Adam, Eve, even Invincible himself, even
Yeah.
Omni Man, like some of the other characters that we got. When you get their origin stories, it's like fucking really interesting and unique.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, wow, he does it so good. But yeah, and I think that was like a little bit of what I felt maybe from episode 1, 2, where it was like, okay, so we got this cool character, the origin's great, but it's like, where is this season going? And you're right, like I feel like now that we get the dad reveal or Omni-Man reveal at the end, I'm like, yes, okay, this is what it's all been building towards. You know, like has Invincible learned enough at this point to now confront his dad and convince himself enough that he's not his dad to handle this interaction? And then it's like, boom, episode done. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited for episode 4. 'Cause,
Exactly.
yeah, this episode felt like it was on track.
Also, at the end of 2, they hint at the big brain guy, right? He comes in and he's talking to the
Oh
other Mark.
yeah,
So
that's
it's like,
right.
you know, that's slowly cooking in the background. I think
Right.
I still really liked episode 2. Like I still really like this show. I think, but 2 is the weakest out of the 3 thus far. But I think it's because we only know, I mean, we know we're only getting like 8 or 10 episodes. So anytime there's like an episode that didn't feel like it used the most potential, I'm like a little disappointed, but I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you give me 12 episodes and I'm like, oh, two's a fun episode. He's on an adventure, like yada yada, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like we only got freaking 7 episodes left or 8 episodes left
Yeah.
at that point.
How
You're
are
like,
you gonna
don't waste, yeah, don't waste my time. Don't give me the shit. Like, give me something. Give me something like meaningful here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was good. Drake, what's your take on episode 3?
Um, I I liked episode 3. I think the best. Getting to see kind of Alan's species, um, kind of try to make the ultimate Viltrumite killer, but then consistently failing. So
Wait,
kind of
he's kind of like Adam Warlock.
yeah,
Huh.
Hmm.
yeah.
Ah.
They're kind of hinting at these characters who are seemingly have endless possibility, like Adam Eve and Alan, right? Kind of superseding or succeeding where their predecessors have failed, and then also you get to see Invincible, the son of a Viltrumite who's half Viltrumite, who can kind of get there but also not get there. And so we're kind of seeing all these things where it's they're showing us blockades, and I'm looking forward to seeing when they're all going to be able to break through those. Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Alan was a great addition. It was cool because we knew he was gonna come back into play because we see him at the end of season 1, right? I think that's another thing that I'm kind of like confused on. It's been so long since I watched season 1, and they don't give you like a full recap, but they kind of give you like the episode recap from last season. So like episode 2 had a recap to things that happened in season 1. And I didn't remember it, and then it was like, remember this villain? He's back, and now Invincible has to fight him. And you're like, wait, who is this again? Like I kind of forgot about that.
I see.
You know,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I like
the
and
seismic
dislike
dude.
that.
Yeah.
I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Like
Yeah,
there were points where like I like that they're pinpointing that like remember this specific scene because we're gonna go on that. Remember this specifically.
yeah,
But I do kind of wish maybe there was, but maybe before the episode there's like a summary of season 1, and then they just like you watch like a 3-minute video of like just
right.
that. Maybe I gotta just go to YouTube and do it myself. But
Yeah.
you know,
But they could have.
um,
They could have put it together and been like,
that's true.
"This is what's in store for season 2 of Invincible."
Yeah.
You know, like it was like we got a picture of it, and then it was like, boom, season 2, which is great. I'm happy we have it. But it was like I still kind of needed a refresher with everything. And if I'm thinking that, and I'm watching this stuff all the time and looking up stuff constantly, I can't imagine how the average person is just going to be able to absorb season 2.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's just
You know,
casually
so
watching it. Yeah.
I think this, episode 3 is going to be the most popular episode of the season so far, and we have to see what happens. I think this is the episode. If you've fallen off, you know, and everybody hears, "Oh, Omni Man's in this episode," I think this is the episode you jump in for.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I also liked, you know, seeing Alan's world and seeing his relationship, and also like, God, you know, you forget how brutal this show can be, also. And when he sees those 3 Viltrumites and they just start mobbing him in space and like
Yeah.
pop out his eyeball and
Ugh.
chop off his arm, I was like, "Is this a dream?" And then it's like, "No, that happened." I'm like, God damn,
Yeah.
this
I
show
know
is
because
It's aggressive.
wild.
yeah, you only see Alan a couple times, and I really like Alan.
Yeah,
Like first season, and then this, I'm like, yeah, seeing him beat up is like, stop, he's my friend.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did anybody else think though, like, man, Seth Rogen always just giving himself this prime spot of just like,
Very smart though, because you get like that credit. I'm like when you get any replay value or all that stuff, like he gets residuals from that
mhm,
on top of like being producer and all that stuff. So like, and I
Smart.
mean, to be fair, like he has a very sought after voice for voice acting. So he could just, you know, it's one of those like smart on his part, and
everybody
no.
wins.
everybody wins really, especially
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, God, I wish I was Seth Rogen. Um, yeah, he's just raking it in. Where do you think we go? What's the final thing that to close this up? Where do you think this goes at the start of episode 4? What do you? We obviously get an interaction between Omni and Invincible, you know, father son. Like, how do you think that conversation goes?
I think it's gonna go better than what he thinks it's gonna go. Grayson.
Yeah,
I think Omni Man's gonna be like, I've changed to a degree, you know, and this is what in order to protect you, I'm here instead, and kind of making excuses and making concessions to kind of repurpose himself in his brain from his original Viltrumite programming, And I think that his son's going to try to help him through it, and we're going to see a little bit of nostalgia as pertains to like father-son, but there's this thing looming in the background that we're not really too certain about, and that's going to kind of lead off to the huge altercation towards the end.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
thinking that this might be a tilt to Omni-Man being more seeing things in a son's point of view, especially when the other Viltrumites are like, "Oh, he left his post." Like now, like
Right.
they got people looking for him, and I think it might turn into like the father-son team up versus all of Viltrumite sort of thing. Like
That seems crazy though.
That'd be
That
kinda
would
cool.
be crazy.
That seems crazy.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Plus the new Guardians and everything too.
Yeah.
Oof, that'd be sick. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I'm excited for your guys' theories, and I really hope that comes true. Yeah. Again, this week's episode was one of the best. I'm super looking forward to this Friday. I think it comes out.
Oh.
I
Thursday.
think so.
Yeah. Man,
Black
looking forward to it.
Friday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I think that's it. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. If you enjoy this, please leave us a review. That's a giant way you can thank us. And we are constantly posting clips from the episodes on social media. And we are now on YouTube as well. Those drop on Fridays. Yeah, if you guys want, we can say, let's see, have a great Schticksgiving
Oh.
together in
Oh,
unison.
okay. Yeah.
That's my
Oh,
gift to
okay.
you guys.
Oh wow, thank you, sir.
Okay, go for it.
Have a great Schticksgiving.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. All right. Aloha.
Peace.
The joystick